Good evening, Great Debate League. Thank you so much for rejoining us here as the GDL commissioners discuss and break down GDL 7 with Phillips versus Taylor, Feminism and Black Families. I'll have to say, and start out as a Black woman, that may be about our greatest debate yet. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I believe the Black women, they really both brought, their points and their views, and they really engaged each other.
I agree.
Okay.
I know.
That's all y'all got to say is y'all agree.
I got a lot to say, but I mean, it was very intense.
Yeah.
I changed who I had winning at least 3 or 4 times during the debate. I felt that it was going back and forth, and every time someone had commanded the flow, that's who I had winning the debate.
Right.
It was a time where I was like, oh my gosh, what is Janaba doing? She's not saying anything. She just sitting here. Katina's listening her. And then right after that, I flipped back and I'm like, oh my God, Janaba with the comeback.
Yeah, it was a battle. This was I will have to agree with you, Ebony. I think this was probably our best one, only because it was a battle literally from the jump, from the front, from the start to the beginning to the end, and they were engaging. Yeah. It was entertaining. I was drawn in. I know others were drawn in. So I would have to agree with you. This is the greatest debate we've had.
Yeah. I think it's also, it could be a challenging question, especially when just dealing with the intersectionality of being Black and being a woman. What does that mean? Of course, I'm for all of my rights, if you will. And how do we discuss how me standing up fully for myself contributes to the demise or not to my own family? One of the things that Katina kept mentioning is she never heard Janaba actually defend the premise that in concrete ways in which it actually has contributed to the demise of the Black family. What are your thoughts on that?
So in reference to that, what I'll say is, and this is a little bit different from what Janaba would argue, but this is also in the same kind of current. Feminism as a theory, as a practice, comes out of the mind of European women. And I don't speak in absolutes. However, there's no institutional structure or theories that come from Europeans that are primarily for the benefit of African peoples. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
So even with the absence of Janaba's lack of evidence on how feminism directly negatively affects Black families, the whole social structure that feminism comprises of is a deterrent for African liberation by its very nature.
I'm gonna bring in AJ. Did you have something?
I don't necessarily agree with that, because that says that because there could be anything that people are doing, it may be useful to you. It does now. Is it that it's not guaranteed, but it's not guaranteed to not be useful either. So I think what I heard from Janaba, which I thought was a very interesting argument that I had not considered, she was saying that the way feminism impacted the Black family was simply by elevating white women into positions of power where they could continue racism.
Right.
I don't know how that's such a simple, straightforward argument, and that never dawned on me that is how all it is putting Black women in a fight that propels white women into power who don't have their best interests at heart. So, in other words, feminism becomes a continuation of racism in Janaba's conception. Now, what we hear from Katina, the opposite, is also a strong argument. The problems that exist in the Black community have nothing to do with feminism in Katina's conception, and that they have not worsened because of feminism. They've only worsened because racism has been allowed to continue. But back to Janaba, does feminism not challenging racism mean that it's helping white supremacy and hurting the Black family? I think if we put those two arguments side by side, Janaba might have the stronger position.
Right.
The stronger position, but did she debate it strong? Yeah, that's the thing that I want to, for people who are listening that are voting in our poll, it is about who was the greater debater, not necessarily what position you agreed or disagreed with. When it comes to whether or not Janeba affirmatively defended the premise that feminism did contribute, Black women's acceptance of feminism contributed to the demise of the Black family structure. Katina didn't have to prove that. Or argue to that point, which is something that she kept saying throughout the night. So it is about who debated their position better, not what we agreed with or disagreed with.
So what I would have said is that I wish Janeba would have brought out more hard stats on how feminism directly negatively affects the Black families,
right?
Such as marriage rates or single family households or income or something to that effect to steel man her argument. Because I agree with it off its merit alone, but I would have liked to see some stats to like really undergird and support what she was trying to get at.
And I agree. Even though I had I might have been biased going into this situation. I mean, based off of the rules of the debate, I think that Jennifer could have presented a stronger defense or a stronger attack. The closing argument, I would have to give to Katina. That the closing argument was kind of strong.
I had serious problems with a closing argument.
I'm saying that I'm talking about as far as a debate. Like I said, I'm leaving how I personally feel about this, looking at it as a debate. I think that it could have been presented a little stronger. But I mean, because I had several questions about the closing arguments, and especially some of the questions that were presented. It seemed like Katina was dodging a little bit, but like I said, I gotta go watch it again because it was back and forth.
So again, I mean, is that a bad strategy? Like during the cross-examination, some of her questions that are not relevant to her argument. So she's saying, she's refusing to answer it. I don't know that that's bad on Katina's part. Now, back to what you said about Janeba's not bringing evidence. I don't know that weakens her position because she doesn't have to. She's saying feminism is racism.
You have to prove that racism exists as well with stats.
Well,
but we don't need. I mean, okay, I hear you, but I guess I'm saying you don't need to show in definition. We know that racism is aimed to harm Black people, so you don't need to. If you align feminism, say feminism in its inception is not intended to help Black people, therefore it's working against them.
I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you, but you need stats to support your assertion. You just can't say something and people agree with you. I mean, that's not how it works.
And my question is that when you hear the term feminism, I've never heard a difference between a distinct difference between this is Black feminism and this is white feminism. I've never heard that. So usually when we hear the term feminism, it's usually Black and white grouped together.
I mean,
did you hear
classic texts on the differentiation between white feminism and Black feminism? One is by Patricia Hill Collins.
And one thing I wish
in the books by
I wish Katina would have spoke to, and she alluded to it, but there's a strong argument that Africana womanism predates white feminism, and she made that in her opening statement that Black women and Janeba alluded to this too. But is that the same as feminism? Is that Black feminism, or is it African women being their natural selves? And I think that's what Janeba was trying to get to.
Well, at the end of the debate, I will say at the end of the debate, in her closing statement, Katina said she, just with her position, she said she isn't a feminist necessarily. She said she's actually a womanist. And so to what you were saying, Bruce, I think that's what Katina was saying, that she's actually a womanist.
During Janeva's questions, she had alluded to the idea, and I'm not sure, maybe it's sort of specious, that Africa was this idyllic place for women where they have equal rights in every area. I mean, we all know Africa is not a monolith.
Right.
Many different tribes with tribal nations with different views on gender roles. And so it you know, you could
Katina
probably find some
Katina,
negative aspects
was
of how
Katina
women were
aware
treated
of
in
the
those
challenge
nations.
rule? Because I would have challenged her on that one, and I would have challenged her on that one. But Katina let that ride. I'm not sure she was aware. In the Great Debate League, we have a rule: if someone says a statement that you believe is unfactual, you can't challenge them.
Right.
Well, it is in our rules and regulations that we email to them. So I'm not. She may either maybe she remembered it and chose to let it ride, or maybe she didn't recall it. I'm not sure.
Well, also in Katina's closing arguments, she made two things that I found kind of disturbing. One was the idea that black men oppress women. I would disagree with that. Black men are awarded privileges by white men in a system of white supremacy. They don't own or control the power and the resources to oppress white women, and for certain to oppress black women. So I would disagree with that as a whole. Second, my issue with what she said in the closing argument was that black men who are not down with feminism are really sexists who want to replace white men at the forefront of oppression. And I'm not, I don't support feminism, but I do support black women's rights and all
Do you
women's
support the equality of the sexes?
rights.
You support the equality of the
Rights.
sexes? Do you support the equality of sexes of men and women?
Yes.
Then in some terms that could be argued that you're a feminist. And I think if we take feminism
Yeah.
as a definition, that if we are men who say men and women should be treated politically, economically, and socially as equals, then we are taking a feminist position because that's not the norm in the world.
The other thing, Mutor, the other thing though, when I heard Katina talk about like black men, and if you talked about it, black men can oppress women. Sometimes I understand what you're saying from a position of economic power and not having that same sort of backing system as white men do. But I think from a female perspective, if I'm in a relationship with a man and he even uses his religion, some people use God as, okay, the man is the final say so, and you need to believe this, and so you come up under me and I have the final say. Men can use their force. It's other ways that I believe when it depends again on some of these things, how you define that word. But from my perspective, I could think of other ways that, black men can be oppressive as well in the black community with black women. Not from a racist, systematic standpoint, what you're talking about, Mutor, but just in behavior.
I think you are setting up the premise for a future debate, Mutor and Ebony. You've been in our group. We've had the discussion, so I am working on getting that debate going forward.
Yeah.
That would be an important one to have because we talk about male privilege a lot in our group, and then recently we raised the issue of black male disadvantage, and that seemed to strike a lot of nerves. People didn't like that because that challenges the whole the cornerstone of the feminist movement against black men, that arguing that black men are also, because of their gender, disadvantaged. And I know I can imagine some of the people in our group right now, their blood is boiling just that means it's just an idea.
I want to bring this comment in from another woman who's actually gonna Ella's Child. She says, when black men kill, rape, and sexually assault black women, that is oppression.
That's Ella.
That's not a woman. That's not a woman, but
that's our brother.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know that. Okay,
thanks. Is that oppression? You know my position on this. I say yes, but that's not the only forms of oppression. And oppression is far more widespread than this. But I mean, yeah. So there's clearly oppression, internalized oppression within our community. We can't get away from that. I think we all agree there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm there yet. That black men oppress black women. I'm not there. I don't agree with that.
Sex trafficking black women is an oppression.
What I'm saying is that when in my version of what I describe as oppression is a systematic structural thing that overwhelmingly benefits Black men
Next
over Black
topic.
women. And what I'm
Okay.
saying is
That's the
that
system,
the rights
But
that we
that's not
have
the.
as Black
well, let's
people
not debate
are
this
given to us.
though.
They are
Yeah,
given
I don't
to
know
us
if that's
by
the
white men.
definition of oppression. I think oppression just means prolonged cruel punishment or treatment of a person. So I think you're conflating. We could talk about that later.
I want to get back to discussing their performance, performance as well. Something happened with Professor AJ, but hopefully he'll be able to rejoin us. Yeah, hopefully he'll be able to rejoin us here. I will say that I do think that was, well, we talked about just the performance of the debate, but that lightning round, they really did both use that well, let me say. And to your point, Bruce, at first it was like, whoa, like it's going this way. Then there was a comeback. Then there was but I do think that they both used that to their advantage.
I agree.
What were you gonna say, Bruce?
I found it funny when they were debating the rules of the lightning round during the lightning round.
Yeah, I was thinking. I said, oh, okay, let me go in there and say, yeah, you can, make a statement or whatnot. But it was fun. So this is funny. Janaba says, see, this is why English sucks.
Yes, and I was gonna say that, like, okay, by me saying that I'm for equality of the sexes, we're speaking the English language, that so now I become grouped in with feminists.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we're humans, and as humans, we should want to see everybody have good opportunities, equality of life, et cetera, without having to be grouped in some kind of theory and system that comes out of white supremacy domination.
Hey, y'all need to go vote. Y'all ain't here with all these comments. Y'all need to go vote in the group.
Yeah, we'll wrap it there. Everybody that's watching, please remember Bruce posted the poll. So go there and vote who you thought was the greater debater, not necessarily what position you agree with, but this is about strengthening our voices, in particular Black people's voices. And so we want to continue to strengthen the art of debate. And so our poll is centered around who was the greater debater. That is the person that we would like to see you select who you felt was the greater debater based on tonight's premise.
Hey, I see Densu in the comments throwing critiques, but he has yet to step into the debate arena. We talk a lot.
Come on, call it out, Bruce.
Densu stepped into the arena and put one of his views out there. Give us a premise, and Densu, we'll set you up.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Like Bruce said, we welcome all of you to join the debate format, and you will give you time to put together an argument, and you can strengthen your voice through this exercise. So everybody have a good night, and we will see you August the 13th for our next debate, GDL 8 with Ella. Tell me again, Anglandes? Esther Anglandes. I'm looking at Ella's Child and Ella's Facebook handle, but Esther Anglandes and Linda Spence for GDL 8 on August the 13th. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace.